Welcome to Senior Insights. I am really excited. I think you're going to really like what we're talking about today. I was doing all kinds of research. I was writing scripts and everything. I said, forget it. I cannot write a script. I just want to wing it again. I might have to look at my notes occasionally, and I'm sorry about that, but I don't want to miss any of the things that we're going to be talking about. So what I thought would be interesting is to chat about the dolls that are from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and see if we can remember any of them, or if we hated dolls, or we loved dolls, or whatever. Now, according to AI, I should have all kinds of visuals for you, and I don't have a doll to show you because I don't own a doll, and I don't know how to do the visuals. So you're going to just have to use your imagination. But when I was doing this, my imagination could visualize each and every one of them that I talked about. And you might know that some of them that I don't talk about, because as I said, AI doesn't know it all. I had to tell it several. So I hope you brought your coffee. I have a muffin, and I'm going to try not to eat it too much in front of you, but, you know, it's a really good one. You know why? I bought it at BJ's. I had to go to the doctor today, so BJ's is right there. And that's how I test out. I had an injection in my hip, so that's how I check it out, see if it really worked. And it did. What kinds of dolls were in the 50s? Well, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to try and do it a little faster than I would really like, than I normally would, because it's a lot of stuff. Do you remember Tiny Tears? I didn't. I had to remind them. So, Tiny Tears had a feeding bottle, and when you gently squeezed her after you fed her, she would cry tears. Did you just hear that whistle? This is very professional. So, do you remember getting excited and all excited about feeding the doll? Water, probably. I don't remember. I don't think I had a Tiny Tears, but I remember the name very well. Did anyone's Tiny Tears cry more than a real baby? Maybe. She was kind of a plumbing project. What made her so memorable? Well, for starters, just her name, Tiny Tears. Oh, Tiny Tears. That's an adorable name. Whoever did the marketing on that was spot on. And then the concept of her crying, and you had to feed her. How cool is that? So that was pretty exciting for someone our age. Well, I was born in 48, so I would have been very young. That would have been pretty cool. And there's a lot of 76 and 76-year-old women out there. And there's some that are older that probably remember other dolls from, you know, older. But I figured the 50s was good enough because I used myself as the guideline. I thought 48 was long enough to go back because that's a long time. That's a really long time. She was pretty cool, that Tiny Tears. Did anyone else ever find that the tears just kind of just dribbled? They just plopped out. And she had some cute outfits. She had pastel ones with bonnets, and she had tiny shoes, and dressing her and undressing her and putting her clothes on was a lot of fun. Do you remember trying to put those buttons together? Were they snaps or were they buttons? I'm envisioning buttons that went into buttonholes, and that was really hard. Especially we used to have tiny cute hands then. Not like this. Did you give your Tiny Tears a name, or did you just call it Tiny Tears? If you called it a name, put in the description what the name for Tiny Tears was, what you called Tiny Tears. Okay, next we're going to talk about, how do you like me swaying back and forth? It's just me. I can't help it. It's probably because I'm just enjoying this muffin, and I'm so glad you all came. I'm glad that you listened to me. That video that I did the other day on the hair, one sweet lady says, I think I'll pass. I don't think she liked the idea of the hair, but I hope she came back. Let me know if she shows up for coffee today. But anyway, the Tony doll. Do you remember the Tony doll? I remember the name. I wasn't big into dolls, so this was kind of hard for me because I never liked dolls. Maybe that was why never mind, I'm not going to say it. What made Tony special? She brought like a touch of glamour. She was a mini hairstyling sensation. We just talked about hair the other day, so this is really cool. If I had known about this, that I was going to talk about that, I would have thrown that in somehow, but I didn't know. I just decided I have so many topics of things that I want to talk about that are nostalgic, that are things that we can remember and reminisce about and stuff. But I have so many, I don't know where to start, and I think that hair one was kind of a bomb. Actually, quite a few of the videos they're getting less and less views, so I don't know. I'll have to stand on my head. I don't care. But, you know, I say I don't care, but I care a little bit. So who remembers that the Tony doll, you used to give her perms? So you had a real classy doll on your hands. She was a mini hairstyling sensation. What made her special? She came with her own Tony perm. I'm saying that, weren't there Tony perms too? I should have talked about that when I did the hair thing. I think there were Tony perms. Let me know. Did you actually give your Tony doll a perm? And how did it come out? Her hair was rooted, and you could brush and you could style it. And she had snazzy clothes. She felt a little more grown up for us to play with, more than a baby doll. I should have tried to dig out baby dolls. Did anyone spend hours carefully rolling her hair and styling her hair, making her look more beautiful than she was? Sweet Sue and Miss Revlon, they were in the late 50s and early 60s. I don't remember those dolls. And I don't have any visuals to show you, so you're going to have to describe what those dolls look like. Well, maybe there's something in here. Sweet Sue, she was an American character. She had a lovely, serene face. Sweet Sue, I mixed them up. Sweet Sue had a lovely, serene face, and Miss Revlon had a much more glamorous face. They came in different sizes. They had different hairdos and different hairstyles. There was always a classic elegance to them. Miss Revlon was named after the Revlon company. Revlon, the one that we use their lipstick. Cherries on Snow. Don't forget that name. That's an old name, and that's what I'm wearing now, although it's worn off because I've been eating my tea, drinking my tea and eating my muffin. But this one is a Revlon too, and it's called So Steak Pink. What kind of name is that? Are they talking like about a rare steak? Pink? That doesn't look like a rare steak. Where did they get that name? I wonder if it's an old name like cherries on snow. Okay, back to my thing. So Miss Revlon, when young children played with those dolls, they were more like teenage friends or young women. We were probably, well, the ones in my age range were probably too young. I don't know, because I don't even remember the name. Now this one, we're moving into the 60s, because it's impossible for me to talk about every single one, so you'll just have to suck it up. If I miss your favorite one, you'll have to tell me, and we'll talk about it another time. But remember Chatty Cathy? I remember that doll. She was, the script says, fast forward to the 1960s, and suddenly our dogs began... Oh, my God. I'm so glad you guys stick with me. It's not our dogs, it's our dogs. I need a drink. People were saying in the hair video that they needed something stronger. I'm going to tell you a secret. When I went to the doctor today, he's the first one that I told, and I told him I'd kill him, I'd knock him dead if he looked up my video. Well, today I went prepared. I had a piece of paper with the name of the video, and then I selected 3 other ones that I thought were good because he's young. You know, he's probably 38, 40, 42, something like that, because his mother was born in 76. That's what he told me. I don't know if he was trying to relate to me somehow. But where was I going with this? Anyway, I told him. He thought it was great. He thought it was really good. And now the test is, remember that other doctor that I told you about? I never saw any evidence in the comments that he actually watched the videos. So I told him this one. I can't tell you his name. I don't want anyone else going and stealing him away from me. He's really great. He's helped my hip tremendously. Oh, I forget what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Anyway, I told him, yeah, this is what I was going to say. I told him, I said, listen, you don't let me down like that other one did down the street. I said, I want to see some evidence. I should have told him he didn't have to say his name. He should have given me like some kind of clue or something that I could figure out that it was him. I said, you have to leave a comment. You don't ever have to come back, because I don't think it's the kind of channel that you'd really like hanging around with. What do you call it? I don't know. And he says, it really doesn't sound like it. But I think it's really good, he said. And I want to see it. He's been curious about it. And you know what else I said? Well, I didn't say it to him, but I told you that before I told him I was going to wait and see if he remembered 3 months ago when I told him that I would reconsider letting him watch it in 3 months. And he remembered. I was so happy. It made me happy. I told him I was in love with him, too. I told him I said I told my audience that I fall in love with all my daughters. He blushed. I think he thought I was coming on to him. What do they call those old ladies who go after younger men? Cougars? I'm just messing with him. Was I supposed to be talking about dolls? I better get back to my script. So Chatty Cathy, how did she actually work? You pull the string, and her mouth open, and she talked. I don't know, did she say words? Did she just grunt? What did she do? I didn't have any of these dolls. She wasn't just a pretty face. She could say 1 to 11 different phrases. And we thought it was magic. It probably was at that time. I mean, probably an invention. A spectacular invention it was. So now our imaginative friends could participate in our playing in a totally different way. They could talk back. That mustn't be much fun to have your dolls talk back to you. Now, this wasn't in my script, but do you remember walking dolls? I remember walking dolls. They were like maybe 2 feet tall, and they were hard plastic, but their arms and their legs moved. And they didn't walk automatically. You had to move their legs, but they were called walking dolls. I had one of those. I liked the bigger dolls, I guess. The baby dolls scared me. So let me see, where's Chatty Cathy? I got all my notes all messed up. I don't think I actually did talk about the Tony doll. So I'm going to talk about it again, and if you heard it before, just block your ears or something, but don't go away. We have to get the number up of people watching to the end. So Tony was a doll that came with a perm kit, and so you could give her a perm. Did you ever give Tony a perm? Did she have wildly curled hair? She actually brought a touch of glamour to playtime. She was one classy doll, and you could really spruce her up with her hair. It was so sophisticated to have a doll like her. Tony was a lovely doll. She had rooted hair that you could brush and you could style. And do you remember some of the styles, how all the hair was all matted and everything in our dolls? Anyway, I'm going through this again. We talked about Chatty Cathy, I'm telling you. So Chatty Cathy was in the 60s. And she just wasn't a pretty face. She could talk. You could pull a string. And I told you that she could talk up to 11 words. But I was thinking as I was saying that, that's why I'm repeating myself. It said in my information that I researched that she could talk 1 to 11 words. Well, what if I had the one that had 1 word and your sister had one that talked and said 11 words? Do you think that that's really true? I would be really annoyed. It's like the half popsicle. I didn't like that at all, and I wouldn't like it if my Chatty Cathy only had 1 word. How could she talk back to you? How could you have a conversation with her? So, do you remember Tressie? Do you remember what her claim to fame was? You could actually make her hair grow. I don't know if she had like a knob on the back that you turned it and it went. But what if you cut her hair and then it couldn't grow anymore because you were used to styling Miss Tony? Anyway. She was innovative. It was a string. That's what I'm looking at. Her light. You could give her a whole new hairstyle. Do you remember the satisfying click when you pull the string? Bear with me, I just got a little bit more to go. In the 1970s, there was a doll called the Dawn doll. I sort of remember that, D-A-W-N. And she had modern fashions and hairstyles, and she was pretty cool to have. And I guess people my age were getting older, and we were getting more sophisticated, and we were more into fancier, classier dolls. We weren't into baby dolls anymore. She packed a lot of style. She had a couple of friends, Angie and Glory and Dale. I don't remember any of those. I remember the Dawn name, but I never had one of those woman dolls, the ones with the curves. We talk about Barbie. She was in all of these seasons. But anyway, in the 70s, wait a minute, let me make sure. If you got Dawn's head-to-toe set, you got interchangeable wigs. Now that would be cool, because if you destroyed one, then you could use the other ones. I mean, because kids like to cut hair. What about the young children who cut their sisters' bangs or something? That happens a lot. So Chrissy was from the 70s, and she had growing hair, and she could talk too. She's the one that had the knob on her back so you could crank out her. You could turn it into voila, long hair. What if you cut it, then it would get... This was such a fun feature. You could do creative hairstyles. She had a friendly, approachable face, so most people liked her. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever. She's still going. She's an icon. She's beautiful. She's not proportional, but she's well loved. Barbie and Ken. Remember G.I. Joe. I don't know about too many boy dolls. I remember G.I. Joe. Anyway, we used to play with those dolls. They were very important to us. They were our friends. We would talk with them. We could have a little tea party or a coffee party, just like we're having now. Let's pretend that we're dolls. We're the Stepford wives. Anyway, we could play with them. We could cry with them. We could talk to them. We could tell them all of our secrets. And how cool is that? I mean, there was a real place, and they also served as a training ground for us to learn how to be caring and nurturing, and how to be able to take care of our own future children, and how to love. And I said nurture, but you know what I mean. Dolls were special. They had special relationships with people. I think that's why I liked the walking doll, because she was more my size. I think they were about 2 feet, and I think they wore like 2 toddler and 18 months dresses. We didn't even talk about the clothes. Each one of them came with their own kind of clothes. I remember like the footed pajamas on the tiny tears, and just the wardrobes. When my daughter was young, she was into the American Girl dolls, and we had all the dolls from that period, and she had a wardrobe. But we used to hang our doll clothes and stuff, and parents would make doll clothes. That was much more prevalent then, and little beds, and you'd put your baby doll in a shoebox, and then put a nice blankie on it, and make sure it had a pillow, and all those things. We had fake bottles and toys, and that was all training us to be the wonderful women that we are today, and the wonderful caregivers and nurturing caregivers that we are today. So I've told you many times, we are walking, talking miracles, and we owe it all to Tiny Tears, because without her, where would we be? Thank you for watching this video. I'm so glad you came for coffee. I'm sorry for the long parts and the laughing. I can't help it. I'm sorry, and I had to look at my notes. It's just who I am. Take it or leave it. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate you coming, and I will see you for coffee tomorrow.